Thank you so much for watching Landumc Goes There. Please subscribe and hit the like button and the bell notification button. The Asphalt Jungle is a 1950 American film noir heist movie directed by John Huston. It's based on a 1949 novel that bared the same name. The movie stars Sterling Hayden, Lewis Callum, and it features Gene Hagen, James Whitmore, Sam Jaffe, and John McIntyre. Marilyn Monroe has a small part in the film, as this is one of her earliest roles. At the time of its release, it was nominated for 4 Academy Awards. The storyline goes that hot out of prison, career criminal Doc Reidenschneider has a desire for the ladies and enjoys the thrill of a heist. He's not one that likes to reform, and he immediately masterminds an elaborate jewelry robbery and secures the promise of financial backing from a corrupt lawyer and married playboy named Alonzo Emmerich. Doc carefully recruits a small group of specialized criminals from the bowels of a familiar bookie joint, but he still needs his heavy character and identifies a kindred spirit in wildcard Dix Handley, who's an adrift soul that just happens to be in the right joint at the wrong time. But this former farm boy isn't the commitment type. But there's something about Doc's enthusiasm that inspires him to action. Together, the team absorb Doc's plan as if they were looking at the plan for salvation from a society as spiritually bankrupt as they feel. But even the best-laid schemes of heist by men go awry. The movie was adapted by the director John Huston and screenwriter Ben Maddow, and it was backed by the major film studio MGM, where it was greenlit for production over the objections of the studio head Louis B. Mayer. This adaptation that they wrote emphasized the crook story and reduced the police procedural aspect of the movie. And believe it or not, the studio allowed the production a relatively free hand in doing the film. Production started on October 21st, 1949, and it ran into late December of that year. In shooting the movie, Huston was influenced by such films as Open City from 1945 and Bicycle Thieves from 1948. He combined the naturalism of these films with the stylized look of film noir mixed in as a Hollywood crime film. After the production was complete, studio head Louis B. Mayer called it absolute trash. He told Huston that asphalt pavement thing is full of nasty, ugly people doing nasty things, and I wouldn't cross the street to see a picture like that. The production codes administrators had some concerns with the script, with the detailed depiction of the heist and the fact that the character of the corrupt lawyer, Emmerich, seemed to cheat justice himself by taking his own life. But neither the studio nor the censors interfered significantly with the script, and both the heist and his death featured in the final cut. The latter scene was rewritten. The original had Emmerich finishing a note detailing his death, while the revision had him stall after writing an endearing salutation to his wife, crumpling up the note and becoming visibly agitated about the decision to take his own life, before the camera cuts away to an off-screen shot being heard. The movie was colorized by Turner Entertainment Company in the late 1980s. In July of 1989, John Huston's heirs made an unsuccessful attempt to prevent a colorized version of the movie from being broadcast on French television, but they lost their case in French court. That colorized version was broadcast in '89, But in 1994, the appeals court in Italy reversed that decision and actually fined Turner Broadcasting about $74,000 for having broadcast that colorized version. When the film was being prepared for British audiences, the producers hesitated because it was so full of American slang. You see, at that time, films that were heavy with slang were usually redubbed for those English audiences. They ended up calling in a consultant, and he advised against redubbing the picture, even though they really thought that some of the words would go right over the heads of the British viewers. They released this version, and it earned great box office returns in England. John Huston first met Sterling Hayden when they were both protesting in Washington, D.C. against the House Un-American Activities Committee investigating subversives in the film industry. Huston told Hayden that he had admired him for a long time and that he really wanted him to do this part, but the studio doesn't. They wanted a top-name star in that role. Hayden ended up landing the role, even though it was rumored that he had been fighting severe alcohol and psychiatric problems during this time. Jean Hagen plays a great role in the film. Her presence on the screen is grand, and she proves what a great actress she is. But she had a pretty troubled life. In 1947, she married Tom Siddell, and the couple had 2 children. Siddell, in his attempt to keep his wife from drinking, divorced her and gained custody of the children. This approach didn't work at all. Hagen's alcoholism only worsened, finally becoming so severe that in 1968 she was hospitalized and lapsed into a coma at UCLA Medical Center. She managed to end up surviving the ordeal, and when she emerged from that coma, Hagen never drank again. Unfortunately, shortly after that, she developed throat cancer and died from that. Now, the director's first choice to play the role played by Marilyn Monroe was Lola Albright, but she wasn't available. Huston brought in Monroe for a screen test and rehearsed for it with her in his office. He wasn't convinced that she was right for this part, and he dismissed her. But he changed his mind when he watched her leave the room. He later went on to say that Marilyn Monroe was one of those few actresses that could make an entrance by leaving the room. This role was a breakout for her. Go back and watch this really good film. I think you'll enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue to chase the classics.